Hey guys, I'm Glacier Rain, Intuitive Life Coach and Ascension Guide. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for joining me here. So this video is for June 2019, and this is Ascension Energy Forecast number 1. And I'm going to be making another one mid-month to let you know what we're doing partway through the month and toward the end and into July. So I want to start out with the the new moon energies, June 3rd, we have a new moon in Gemini. So the way that the new moon, you're planting new seeds, right? The new moon is a time for setting intentions, planting new seeds, figuring out the direction you'd like to head in. It's the beginning of a cycle. So with that being said, there are other planetary configurations that also influence the new moon, right? Or that time that the new moon is. So Gemini is a sign, it's known as the twins. So there is a dualistic aspect to it. For those of you who are Geminis or you know Geminis, you know that they can be sometimes one way or the other. So with that, there is a high level of intelligence and mental processing going on within the sign of Gemini. So that's going to be an added influence, thinking about things a lot. Now, it's important not to get caught up in just the mental aspect of things and really feel them out as well. The other planetary configurations are lending a almost dreamy quality to the energies, right? So almost like a glossed over quality. So that's something to pay attention to. It's not a time to leap before you look. It's not a time to go into putting both feet in immediately. It's a time to be thoughtful and mindful. Even if you have the desire or you feel like this is it, I've been waiting my whole life for this, whether it be a career, whether it be a relationship, whether it be buying a home, buying a car, making connections with friends, starting new classes or things like that. Really be very mindful about looking at all aspects of it, not just one side, not just looking at the parts of it that you like, but really asking yourself, like, what are the pros and cons about this? Okay, because it can be that, like I said, there's a dreamy quality about it that can make you gloss over the cons of something and just jump right into it, only later to find out that you were being influenced by energies that may not be maintained long term. So speaking of long term, the full moon in Sagittarius on the 17th is going to be helpful in planning for long term. So this is a time when you are going to want to not take actions in like the daily gratification. It's good to be in the moment. Don't get me wrong about this, but it's also good in that present moment. That's your point of power. It's really good to make sure that you're looking at the ways that you can impact your future in that present moment. The other videos I've taught about how in the present moment we're experiencing our past creation, right? But we are shaping our future experience in the present moment. That's our point of power, our point of creation. So around the full moon is going to be, and through that part of the cycle, the full moon back to the new moon is going to be a really good time to be focused on long-term goals, even if they're not paying out in the moment, right? So no get rich quick schemes or things like that. Okay, it's more about like, just don't be tricked. Don't buy into something that seems too good to be true. If it's too good to be true, then be mindful about that. If that comes up like, wow, this is almost too good to be true, even with the energies at the beginning of the month, that will carry through the entire month. But really be mindful that you're looking at, how is this going to impact me? If I commit myself to this or make this choice, how does this impact me a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? Okay, and don't get caught up in that stuff. Don't live for 5 years from now. But what I'm saying is be mindful that the choices that you make in the moment do shape your future, and they also impact the others around you, okay? But the energies around the full moon are really beneficial for diving deep into something that you love, whether it be a relationship, a partnership of like business or whatever, friendships, new connections, business, whatever it may be, diving into it, but with the knowledge that all of your choices that you make now need to also have longevity behind them, okay? So don't bank on winning the lottery. Like take out a huge loan and say, oh, I'm going to win the lottery and pay it back. It's not a time for that. It's more of a time to say, okay, let's be practical here and logical about things. So, okay, that being said, I want to go into the actual cosmic energies that are coming in, and the Schumann resonance has been spiking a lot. I'll start out with that. So with the Schumann resonance, that is basically like the brainwave pattern or the heartbeat of the earth. Basically it's the earth frequency, and when that shifts, we shift, right? I've talked about this in other videos too. So it's spiking up. It spiked up to 83 the other day and stayed there for a bit before it dropped back down to 50. Now 50 is even really high. Mind you, the earth was vibrating or resonating at 7.383 hertz, 7.83 hertz. So 50 hertz is a lot. That's a huge jump. So the earth is waking up. The earth is helping us expand in our consciousness and have access to new levels of awareness. Those new levels of awareness, that's what's exposing all of the corruption that's coming out. These planetary alignments are too. But the corruption in the government, the corruption in state systems, the corruption in education systems, that's something that can really start to come out even more during this month. Toward the end of the month, things that were hidden are going to start to be revealed. Now, back to the Schumann resonance, when we go through these spikes, it can make people feel pretty irritated. We are electromagnetic beings influenced by electromagnetic fluctuations, right? Or even electrical fluctuations or magnetic fluctuations. So all of these different things that are influencing us are what have us on this kind of roller coaster. Now, May was a pretty bumpy ride, right? All of us were kind of like, oh, what's happening? I've been putting out a lot of almost daily updates on my Instagram channel, which is Glacier Rain Life Coach. If you are interested and you have an Instagram account or would like to stay updated on a more regular basis, you can follow me there. And anyways, with these updates, I'm talking about the different discomfort and ascension symptoms that we're having. So maybe, drink plenty of water. Drink more than twice as much as you've been drinking, okay? So water is this conductor that allows us to have the information that is brought in through light and through breath. It is helping distribute that information through the system. It's helping purge the density, move the energies. So when you're dehydrated, you get headaches, you feel nauseous, and you feel extremely tired. Think about that. Those three symptoms are some of the primary ascension symptoms. Drink more water so you can feel better and have these ascension symptoms impact you less. So another thing that's causing the discomfort is when these accelerated light integration periods are happening. That high frequency of this new incoming information and light comes in and hits those dense energy blocks that are the things like fear, anger, guilt, shame, blame, horror, terror, what else? Loneliness, just things like that, confusion, all of that stuff. That's the stuff that I call the anchors in density and the limiting points of view that are holding you in third dimensional reality and making your life super hard. The people who are resisting clearing those things are going to start to notice their lives are going to get harder and harder and harder. Embrace these changes, you guys. So maybe, drink plenty of water. Drink more than twice as much as you've been drinking, okay? So water is this conductor that allows us to have the information that is brought in through light and through breath. It is helping distribute that information through the system. It's helping purge the density, move the energies. So when you're dehydrated, you get headaches, you feel nauseous, and you feel extremely tired. Think about that. Those three symptoms are some of the primary ascension symptoms. Drink more water so you can feel better and have these ascension symptoms impact you less. So another thing that's causing the discomfort is when these accelerated light integration periods are happening, that high frequency of this new incoming information and light comes in and hits those dense energy blocks that are the things like fear, anger, guilt, shame, blame, horror, terror, what else? Loneliness, just things like that, confusion, all of that stuff. That's the stuff that I call the anchors in density and the limiting points of view that are holding you in third dimensional reality and making your life super hard. The people who are resisting clearing those things are going to start to notice their lives are going to get harder and harder and harder. Embrace these changes, you guys. You got to learn to surf these cosmic waves, rather than getting smashed or crashed by them, because it causes a system crash, essentially. That's why a lot of us are getting taken out. I know that when I don't drink enough water, I don't feel good. And I am drinking so much water right now, and so much ginger too, like ridiculous amounts of fresh ginger. But so we are going to, in June, start to encounter rapid cycle peaks and valleys. So May, it was more of a kind of like up and down, and I know it was different on a day-to-day basis. It felt very different. But we kind of went in these little blocks, like 3 to 4 days at a time. We would go through these activation cycles, right? Well, June, it's like cut that time in half, peaks and valleys, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So drink all the water, that you can. Don't overhydrate, of course, be sensible, but drink a lot of water and then be prepared to go with the flow. So be easy on yourself and say one night you can't sleep. If you maintain the point of view, great, now I'm going to feel like crap tomorrow. I didn't get my 8 hours of sleep. My whole day is ruined. Well, then you're actually taking a point of view and creating a distortion in the energies that you are able to access. So you access them through that distortion, which is nothing more than a point of view. There may be that you integrated so much light during the night and got so many activations that you don't need to sleep as much the next day, or that you are going to have everything that you need for the next day, So we got to be careful with what we have as expectations and the programming that we have experienced so far. If we all believe that we have to have 8 hours or we're not going to feel good and our bodies can't rejuvenate, well, then we're bound by that program, but that's nothing more than an agreement. It might be that you have 2 hours of sleep and you're like, wow, that's amazing. I just feel really good. I had 2 hours of sleep. I made some fresh juice. And I ate a salad and I feel great. Did some breath work, bringing in that breath that carries light. Remember, breath carries oxygen. Oxygen carries light photons. Light photons are activating your light codes. They're increasing your light quotient. And if you sleep to get light and then you're taking it in through your breath, you need less sleep. Now, that being said, if you do feel tired and you can rest, do it. Because sometimes we are going through, like in the energy clearing sessions that I do with people, we clear out so many of these anchors in density, guilt, fear, blame, shame, all of that stuff. Just there's tons of them, like probably over 60 or 70 that I have labels for that we go through and clear. But when we're clearing that stuff, people get really tired, and that's because, and a lot of you are doing this just on your own as well, you feel very tired because of the need for more light. Whenever you're pulling out these anchors in density or these dense blocks of energy, you free up a space within your energy body, which you have multiple layers to your body, and I will be offering a workshop on this. But for now, I'll just kind of go over them really quick. You have your physical body, etheric body, emotional body, mental body, spiritual body, your causal body, your higher self, your soul, and then your goddess self. So you have all these different layers of who you are. And within the emotional body, the mental body, the spiritual body, the physical body, the etheric body, you end up having, that's where these anchors in density get lodged, right? They just get stuck in there and then the energy can't move. But when we remove them, so much light fills in, but sometimes your body likes to shut down or go to sleep so it can take in even more, because then it's not running all those processes that it has to be running during waking time. So sometimes the exhaustion is because of that. You have to remember we are undergoing a cellular transformation to a crystalline light body living experience. We're integrating our light body. We have to clear out the density that prevents it from already being here. If we didn't have this level of density, our light body, we would already be our light body, right? So we're doing amazing things. Be gentle with yourself, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about March 21st and 22nd. So we had that huge activation did I say March? Well, I'll talk about that too. So we had that huge activation in March, but we're actually doing that again in June. June 21st and 22nd is what I meant to say. Anyways, so within that March 21st and 22nd, we went through the quantum timeline jump, right? And then it took us a while to acclimate to the new energies and the new resonance that we were living in, right? So we're going through that again, and there's a series of them coming up, right? So the June 21st and 22nd, as we go through this quantum timeline jump, we have not only the opportunity to go through the timeline jump, but also it's what I like to call our cosmic birthday, which is when we get to choose if we want to repeat another year of that same cycle, another solar cycle of the same lessons and same pattern, or if we want to level up, right? So the systems of domination and control are pushing back on us. Every time there's some type of accelerated light integration phase, the systems of domination and control through their electrical grid, through their television programming, the radio waves, other frequencies that they're putting out, they push back on us and try to put us into a state of fear. Okay, when you're in a state of fear, you're not expanding in your consciousness. You're contracting. You drop down into those lower chakras, into survival mode, and get defensive and afraid. Okay, now there is a time and a place to be in survival mode. If there is a train coming at you and you need to get off the tracks, that's a time to get into that mode. If everything is kind of just going okay in your life, maybe there's some minor threats, you don't want to stay at your job, or maybe you're having discomfort in a relationship or a friendship, that's not the time to go into the lower chakras. That's a time to rise up and say, how can I be at my best in this situation? What is another point of view that I can have in this situation that will bring more light into it and make it in the highest good? Part of my soul's greatest expression. So we have the opportunity to really choose. Do we want to repeat a pattern and stay with that within that same level of our identity, or do we want to push through the discomfort? Do we want to face these challenges? Do we want to clear these anchors in density and level up and start a whole new set of lessons? It's a graduation of sorts, okay? So this coincides with the summer solstice. What a beautiful time to celebrate, right? And we just have the full moon right before that too. So it's perfect. The way all of this is aligning is so perfect. So setting these intentions for the long term, right? We go through the full moon where I talked about earlier. We want to set the long-term intentions, and that is also happens to coincide with the timeline jump and getting to choose if we want to repeat the pattern or start a new one. So ways that you can support yourself in starting a new one are turn off the TV. It programs your mind. It shapes your reality. When you see something and you feel something, you start creating that, okay? You got to be responsible for the vibrational offering. Don't just be programmed. Don't let the systems of domination and control. Use your creative abilities to shape the timelines. You shape them. You choose, okay? We're sovereign free will beings. I have a sovereignty course coming up in July. It's all done online, live webinar. So if you want to claim your sovereignty and really step into your sovereignty and be free from all of these systems and all the kind of soul contracts and stuff like that, I teach a lot about it. So it's on my website if you'd like to check that out. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it's really important that you go out in nature, drink plenty of water. So with meditation, you can sit there in meditation, or you can do what I like to call an active meditation. Sometimes I ride my bike. and I just hit the trails and I ride my bike, and so much information comes in because I'm so present with the energies around me. You can go for a hike, go for a walk, go for a kayak, go take your kayak out, or a paddleboard, or whatever you like to do that gets you out in nature and in your physical body, allowing your mind to be clear. That's what we're calling for this month, to gain the clarity that you're looking for and to gain the insights about what your next steps are. That's what the opportunity is. So getting out in nature is going to be very healing and beneficial for a lot of you. And really, if you think about it, I hear some of you already saying, well, I don't have time to do that. Make time. Make time, especially if you have time to watch TV or watch YouTube. So anyways, making your health and well-being a priority. A lot of the energies this month are going to bring light to your inner dark places, okay? The shadows are going to be showing their faces. So it's important to know that the energies are supporting you in getting in touch with the shadow aspect of yourself or the darker aspects of yourself, bringing light into those. And it's very personally challenging to see the things in yourself that you don't like or that you wish you weren't. Like some of this, this is what kind of stimulates the dark night of the soul. When you see your shadow and you have kind of an identity crisis, right? When you're ready to level up. The dark night of the soul represents that you're actually ready to level up, and there's more than one in your life. It's not just one, and it's certainly not one night. But anyways, so if you find that you're going through a period where you kind of feel a bit depressed and you're like, I don't like who I am, I've done these things, and I see now how it negatively impacted others, you gotta forgive yourself. You're always doing your best. This is something to remember. Everybody is always doing their best with the current point of views that they hold, the current programming, and the current skill set. They're always doing their best. You are always doing your best. And yes, other people see your potential and you see other people's potential, right? Just because the potential is there doesn't mean that you have the tools yet to actualize it. And I'm not saying be lazy. I'm not saying don't push yourself to be a better person, because I certainly am the person to encourage that. Push through the tough stuff and be who you want to be. But also love yourself, because you do not level up by being hard on yourself or being mean to yourself or holding yourself in judgment or blame or shame or guilt. Those are the anchors in density that we need to clear and let go of. So self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others. If you are holding a grudge against somebody, get in touch with what is at the root of that. What do I make this mean about me? That's huge in that situation. What's the story that I've created about this? What's the tale that I made up about this whole situation, and what do I make it mean about me? That will help shift energies. Because if you hold a grudge, that's a really low vibration. That's a vibration of blame. And it's part of the victim consciousness programming that is based in duality, which is 3D. If you want to step into the 5D energies, if you want to experience that high vibe life of synchronicity and joy and flow and creation and manifestation, you cannot hold on to victim consciousness any longer. And this brings me to my next point, in fact. So people keep asking me, when will this be over? Well, my dears, number one, we're infinite beings. So there's no end. Now, that being said, there is actually an end in sight to certain cycles. Remember, it's all about cycles. We exist within cycles. If you start to really get into what is creating this reality, you start to look into things like cymatics, you look into like sonic geometry, sacred geometry, a lot of that stuff, but that is a whole other topic. But anyways, now with the ability to really get into leveling up, letting go of these anchors in density, facing yourself, taking light into the darkness, enlightening yourself, right? It's going to take a fair amount of surrendering your 3D life. A lot of people do not want to let go of their 3D attachments. But in order to have the 5D living that I was just talking about, you got to let go of those 3D attachments. I'm not saying abandon your life and let everything go. I'm saying let go of the attachment to the expectations of it being a certain way. That's why I like to say explorations instead of expectations, right? Explore life, explore this reality, explore the possibilities rather than narrow down the possibilities to a limited expectation. So these expectations lead us to disappointment anyways. So many people I see are not letting go of the duality and fully stepping into the unity, right? So that victim consciousness has got to go, you guys. It's not part of the 5D new earth living. It's part of the 3D. And the longer you hold on to anything in the 3D, the harder your life is going to get. It's not wrong or right. I'm not saying it's wrong or right to choose either space, either vibrational set point, the 3D or the 5D. It's not wrong or right. You can choose whatever you want. However, the 3D is going to continue to cause discomfort because it's based in duality. Duality is imbalanced. Polarity is not imbalanced. Polarity is a complete different thing than duality, okay? We have polarity here, and that's all right. There's nothing bad about that, okay? It's just that we live in a reality that has opposites. And that's contrast for you. And that's great because contrast creates choice, and choice allows free will to be expressed. So it's very good to have that contrast or that polarity within this reality, So let's see, what else did I want to talk about here? I did write some notes down there there we go. So with the new energy system that we're in, right? You can view it as like a grid that exists around the planet. Within the planet permeates everything. The grid keepers know all about this, or maybe you do it unconsciously, I don't know. But a lot of the grid keepers do grid work at night when they're out of their body, and then they maintain a human life during the day. But anyways, the clairs, so there's within this grid, there are templates that are activated at different times. I did that video on the New Earth template like a really long time ago. But anyways, that's one of the templates that people carry, right? We have the template of peace, the template of resurrection. So we also have the template of telepathy, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and claircognizance. And those are all installed in the grid. Now, can anybody just access them? No. Eventually, yes. We're all wired to do that. However, you have got to develop yourself in a way that allows you access to those, because just like any good parent, they're not going to give their young child a sharp pair of scissors or a sharp knife that they can hurt themselves with, right? So you're asking, how can I hurt myself with clairvoyance? Well, this is how. If you start to see images or see entities or see things that scare you, see demons or whatever you want to call them, right? If you start to see these things, it could make you shut that down or go into a space of fear, which fear is an extremely low vibration. It's not wrong. It's actually very functional, just not when it's inappropriate, right? So and by inappropriate, I mean irrational, an irrational fear, right? So if you are having these images and your clairvoyance is activated before you are ready to handle what you are seeing and view it from an open mind, and it causes you to shut down and contract and drop down in vibration, then it's not beneficial for you, and that would be hurting yourself with a sharp tool, right? So you have to exhibit a certain level of awareness or consciousness to where you can wield these tools to where it's beneficial for you and others. So say you have telepathy and you start to hear people's thoughts around you, which really isn't that hard. It's actually kind of fun and funny at times. But you can't be coming from a state of judgment, because people are thinking all kinds of wild things all the time. And so if you have a judgment about what somebody else is thinking, and that puts you into a state of duality, like you against them, rather than being able to be like, that's funny, their mental body is doing something right now. It's not truly who they are. It's their mental body processing information, right? But if you don't come from that point of view, and then you go into a state of judgment and you create some type of disconnect or some type of grudge or resentment or bitterness toward them, then you're bringing in another anchor and density into your own field and dropping your own vibration. So that's what I mean by you will have access to these tools when you are ready for them. Kind of like getting a driver's license. You don't get to get the car until you're ready for it, right? You don't just give a car to a 3-year-old. It's that same concept. Okay, that's pretty dramatic, but so let's see. I just want to take a look and make sure that I get everything in here that I want. Okay, the bodies, looking at the shadows. Okay, so basically I've covered most of the things that I wanted to cover, and one thing that you need to know is this is going to be a month of dramatic change. Every area of our lives are going to be in flux. Get comfortable riding that cosmic wave, okay? So, tools for that: breath work, water, rest, and then asking yourself, when you get triggered, what am I making this mean about me, and what's the truth? Always look for the greatest truth from the highest perspective possible. When you look at the highest perspective possible, you are not in a state of judgment. If you are judging something, and I mean attachment to judgment, so don't say, well, judgment is good. Okay, it's good to be able to judge things, and determine in the sense that you're able to determine, do I want this or do I not want this? That is good. That's using discernment, being able to decide and choose something. I'm talking about when you create a disconnect or you hold yourself in a dualistic space of you being right and somebody else being wrong. And that's not okay for them to hold their point of view because it's different than yours. That's what I mean by judgment, okay? So if you find that you are having a judgment about something, and you'll know when you are, because it feels super uncomfortable because your body is telling you this is not in your highest good to be doing. Whatever the mental body is doing is not in alignment with your greatest good. And the physical body is like, I got to put on the brakes here. And that's that bad feeling, right? Your physical body is like, please don't do this. I don't like this vibration. So when you get into that space, that's when you ask those questions. What am I feeling right now? What is this trigger? What are these energies in my body? And don't resist them. When you resist something, there's that saying, what you resist persists, right? You have to listen to it and let it move. Now, you can choose to feel something different. If you can't process something at that time, and you say you're at work and you really have to focus on something else and you don't have time to go deep into whatever you're emotionally dealing with, back burner it, but then go deal with it later. Choose to say, okay, I will deal with this at another time. I understand that something is coming up for me and I understand that there is something that I need to clear. But right now, I have to focus on this because this is what needs to be done. Then do that. Otherwise, if you have the moment to deal with it, deal with it. Now, escaping, like through alcohol or drugs or food or sex or beverages or things like that, whatever, exercise even, if you find that you're trying to escape something or you have this urgency to run away from something, that's when you stop. That is exactly when you stop and you feel into it. That's the surrender I'm talking about. Surrendering to the flow of the energy moving through you, because every time that happens, you have an opportunity to level up by clearing something and letting go of one of these triggers or anchors, okay? And that is what this 2-year period, so 2019 and 2020, this is go time. This is where you get to clear everything and decide to level up or not. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have an opportunity after that, okay? So don't freak out. What I'm saying is that this is a 2-year window that the energies of the cosmic energies and the earth energies are working together to help you get it, to help you remember who you are as a divine infinite being. So use this opportunity wisely and don't run from it. Don't self-medicate. Like with alcohol, let's talk about alcohol for a minute, okay? Because a lot of people ask me about this and they're like, is it bad that I have alcohol? Well, I'm not going to go into a space of judgment about it. Here's why. Because when I go into a space of judgment about right or wrong, I'm jumping right back into duality. There's always a time and a place for everything, and also everything in moderation, right? So if you feel like you'd like to have a glass of wine, or you'd like to have a beer, or you'd like to have a cocktail, feel into it. Say, is this really in my highest good, or am I trying to avoid something? If you're trying to avoid something, that's your opportunity to do some inner work. Now, if you don't do your inner work, your life will get harder. These lessons are not going to go away. We're in that 2-year window that the lessons are all coming up. These opportunities, it might be a better word, rather than lessons, these opportunities to shift and let go of what no longer serves us and to step into what does. We're recreating ourselves. We're rebirthing. This is a 2-year birth process, the longest birth you could imagine. And it's rough. It's rough. We're in the birth canal, you guys. So anyways, back to the alcohol. So they call it spirits. The reason they call it spirits is because of the vibration that alcohol is at. Now, that will allow entities to attach to you. I'm going to do a separate video on entities because I want to get clear about what these are and the power that they actually have over you and the power that you actually have over you and them. So when you start to intoxicate your physical body, it is so uncomfortable for the soul that you kind of detach. You don't ever fully detach. You just kind of distance yourself from it. That's what a blackout is, right? Well, your soul isn't present in the body. There's brain reasons for it too that science can prove. But anyways, so when you get intoxicated like that, entities, when there's nobody in the car and it's running and ready to be driven, something's going to get in there, okay? That's when the entities attach and they direct your mental body. They direct your mental body. They merge with the mental body, okay? So when they do that, then you start to think it's your inner voice. I remove entities off people on a daily basis. There's all kinds of different ones. So they're easy to remove. They're also easy to get on there. They get on there. I teach this in my energy hygiene class, which is going to be coming up soon too. They come in moments of trauma. So as we're going through these really big shifts and we're having these epic breakdowns, energetic hygiene is really important. It's important to not go into drinking a bunch or using drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism in trauma, and that's why. Because you can get an entity that will then start to direct your mental thought stream, and then you're making choices that aren't your choices, okay? So a lot of times when I remove entities, people they stop their desire to drink, or they stop their desire to smoke cigarettes or eat certain foods or things like that. And they feel much better. They stop feeling sad or feeling depressed or feeling angry. So there's all of these different forces that are unseen that will work against you if you allow it. When you are functioning at a high vibration, you are untouchable. Okay? Untouchable. So it's really important to make choices that reflect that high vibe. So things like drinking a bunch of alcohol, and I'm not talking about one glass of wine, okay? I'm talking about inebriation. I'm talking about drinking to the point of being drunk, or using drugs to the point that you are not in control of yourself. So, and I'm not talking about plant medicine, guys, okay? I'm not talking about plant medicine. Now, that in moderation too, all plant medicine in moderation. And when I say medicine, I mean medicine, not habitual, not really recreational. See, when you use things, food isn't recreational either, There's a time and a place for everything and a way to use it in a sacred manner. And so make everything that you choose sacred. And you can. We're here to live a sacred life, and that's what 5D living is. Living sacred lives based in unity with each other. Cooperation, collaboration, love-based interactions, love-based expressions. making art, making music, choosing health, choosing life. That's what we want, right? That's what we've been asking for. And that's what this 2-year window is offering us. But if you want to step into that, you have to stop standing in these 3D choices, these 3D ways of being, or your 3D identity, okay? So I could just go on and on, you guys. I love you so much. I am so pleased to be part of such an amazing community. You guys are spectacular beings. And I encourage you to go to my Instagram channel because I'm on there daily. I'm not on YouTube daily, but I am on Instagram daily. So if you want to check in on me there, it's Glacier Rain Life Coach. I have another Glacier Rain channel, which is my artwork and my old clothing company. So you could follow that too, but I don't really post there anymore. I do share on my channel as well a bunch of the food that I make, a high vibe food. I'm working on an ebook right now with my recipes so you guys can have access to those. I love eating tasty, healthy, fresh food, and I love preparing it. For those of you that don't know me, I have a background in cooking, managing restaurants, and cooking. So, and that was before my clothing company. So anyways, if you'd like to check out my Glacier Light, that's energy balancing tools for Ascension. I have some left in my Etsy store right now, which can be accessed through my website. I encourage you to take a look at my website and check out the different things that are coming up. Like I said, I have the sovereignty course, and then I also have the life coaching, hypnosis, and NLP certification course that I'm doing with Serena, and that's actually coming up. We just moved the dates up, so it's coming up toward the end of September, and the sovereignty webinar is a prerequisite for that. So I love you guys. Again, I could say that like a million times because love is my foundation. It's my favorite thing to do. So anyways, thank you so much for joining me here. I appreciate your presence. Please comment and love each other, love yourself, forgive others. And I will be back very soon with some videos on the entities and then another update as well. So thanks again for being here. Much love. Have a wonderful month of June. It's really a great opportunity to level up and set those long-term plans into action.